In this section, I want to talk about different interface roles in a network. Actually, I'm talking about some specific kind of networks because not all types of networks have the same, characteristics in interface state, of course. So if I go to router 3, I have Ethernet 1 here, and you can see the state is back up here. The neighboring interface of this interface is Ethernet 1 on router 1, and you can see this is designated router. So why this is designated router and why router 3's interface is backup? I want to just show to you what happens when I want to have such a design in my network. If I have a switch, for example, I want to draw a switch here. I just want to draw 4 different routers. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. And assuming that all these routers have connections to this switch, here I want to create this connection like this. I just draw the switch to show you that these routers have at least one interface in the same subnet. Actually, these interfaces all are in the same subnet. Okay? Now, all of these interfaces are connected to each other. All of these routers have OSPF neighborship. Now, what I want to talk about is this. I have adjacency with all of these routers, so I need to send my updates like this to all of these routers. To this router, oh my god, I need brush. To this router, to this router, and to this router. Now this router needs to send its updates to other routers, to this one, to this one, to this one, and the same goes for all routers. You can see that this is very complicated. I don't want to have this complicacy. What I want to have is this. I just want to make sure that this is my designated router. So all routers are sending these updates to this one. And this router, of course, is going to redistribute all of those updates to other routers. So I only have one point of redistribution. Actually, point of distribution. I don't want to confuse this redistribution that I want to talk about in later sections. Okay? So I want to have one distribution point, and this is going to be my designated router. How can I make sure that this router is going to be my distribution point? How can I make sure that this is going to be my designated router? What I want to do is to make sure that this has the highest router ID. And if it has the highest router ID, it is going to be designated router. Okay? Now there is one exemption to this rule. If one of these routers starts prior to other routers, earlier than the other routers, that is going to be designated router. And to make sure that this router is going to be designated router at all times, I need to make some changes to other interfaces configuration. I want to show you in later sections what needed to be done on this network. So if you have a plan to make a specific router a designated router, you need to make sure that it has the highest router ID. But if you do not have this plan, just let those routers decide for themselves. So I have the highest router ID on this router, and this is going to be the designated router on this interface, and designated router is assigned to a specific interface. Actually, this is designated router, but for this interface. If I have only 2 routers connected to each other, like this, one of the interfaces is going to be designated router, the other one is going to be backup, and it doesn't matter really which one is going to be designated router. But here you can see that I have 4 different routers, so this makes sense to select one of the routers as designated router. So what is the backup designated router? Actually, BDR or backup designated router is another router standby. If this designated router is going to, for example, fail for some reason, backup designated router is going to replace the role. And if DR comes back, backup designated router is going to go standby again. So I have a designated router that has the highest router ID. I have a backup designated router that has second to highest router ID. And I have DR others. Other router are all going to be DR other. And they are not going to be designated router unless designated router and backup designated router are lost. Now I want to go back to my network. Here in my network I only have one-to-one connections like this one. So it doesn't matter which one is going to be designated router, which one is going to be backup designated router. I don't care about this because I don't have many routers in the same subnet. But I just described you the process. So let's go back here and talk about something else. If for some reason I want one specific router to be designated router, what those cases should be. Let me show you. I have, let me delete all of these. Don't want to have these. Let me assume that I have a frame relay connection. I have a branch office here in New York. I have another branch office in New Jersey, in some small towns such as Islin. I have, for example, another branch in, for example, Nyack, and I have another branch in some other place here. So all of these are branches, and what I have is a direct link to New York office. I don't have connection between Nyack and, for example, Islin. I don't have connection between the other place and Nyack, so I only have this type of connection. So here it makes sense to make sure that this is my designated router in any case, because if this one is my designated router, for example, and the link between this link and the New York site is lost, actually I have lost my designated router. I don't want to have such a design. What I want to have is to make sure my designated router is in a site that is always accessible by most of my branches. So I need to make sure that this is designated router and other routers are not participating in the election of designated router. How can I do this? If I want to stop these routers from competing for becoming a designated router, I need to go to configuration of this interface and make sure that priority is 0. When priority is 0, even if I have the highest router ID in this router, it is not willing to participate in the election. So it is not going to be the designated router. So whatever priority is set in this router, that is okay. I just make sure that the priority is more than 0 in this router, and other routers in branch offices have a priority of 0. So I make sure that designated router is always accessible with most of my branches. So this is the only place that I need to go and handle the designated router role and backup designated router role. Actually, in other places I don't need to work on these concepts. So as I told you, I have only one-to-one connection between these routers. I only have 2 interfaces in the same subnet. So I don't need to worry about designated router and backup designated router. So I just talked about the logic behind that.